Support for the Leadoff on WGLT and WGLT.org comes from the Central Illinois Regional Airport, where travelers are one stop away from world destinations. Connections on Delta Airlines to Atlanta are available daily. Close, convenient, CIRA. More at CIRA.com.
Voters in McLean County could be asked again to approve a 1% sales tax to fund local schools. It's one of the things you need to know to start your day for Friday, September 6th. I'm Ryan Denham, and this is WGLT's The Leadoff. Now let's lead off with public schools, as two school superintendents in Bloomington Normal float the idea of getting a 1-cent countywide sales tax back on the ballot for the first time in a decade. WGLT correspondent Braden Fogerson has more.
McLean County voters overwhelmingly voted down the measure to add a sales tax for school facilities when it was last on the ballot in 2014. School superintendents from Unit 5 and District 87 responded to a question about a countywide sales tax during a State of Public Schools panel at Heartland Community College. District 87 Superintendent David Mauser says the sales tax looks different from when it was last tried.
The difference between the last time that this ran, the 1% sales tax in McLean County, is that at that time it could only be used for facilities. This time, the legislation has been changed that allows it to be able to be used for facility needs, also for safety, and for mental health services.
Unit 5 Superintendent Kristen Weichel has seen the tax put to the test when she held the same position at Warrensburg-Latham schools near Decatur.
It was literally a game changer for us. We were able to add some safety and security measures that there would have been no way we would have been able to do without that money. We were able to not only maintain but update our facilities.
Weichel adds that parents in her district notice the effects of the tax.
And more often than not, I can go back and show, wow, they have the countywide facility sales tax, and that's how they paid for that.
The school leaders did not say when the sales tax might be placed on the ballot. For the Leadoff, I'm Braden Fogerson.
Here's some of the stories we're following in the WGLT newsroom. ISU says it's enrolled the largest class of new students in university history this fall. That's over 4,200 first-year students, up 3% from a year ago. It comes as many other state schools are facing enrollment declines. Police in Normal are investigating the death of a man whose body was found in recycling materials at Midwest Fiber. Officers say the 34-year-old man was found at about 6 o'clock Wednesday night. An autopsy has yet to determine a cause of death. And a manufacturing facility in Gibson City plans to close and lay off nearly 80 workers. Rhino Ag makes equipment for agriculture, landscaping, and construction. That company plans to merge operations with a plant in Alabama by next March. You can find more on these stories at WGLT.org. Opponents of the local grocery tax in Normal that'll go into effect when the state's grocery tax sunsets say it may place stores in the town at a disadvantage compared to those in Bloomington. There's no sign Bloomington will enact a local tax of its own. In this interview with WGLT's Charlie Schlenker, Mayor Chris Koos offers a rebuttal.
You know, I've heard that argument before. We heard it about gas tax. We heard it about sales tax when there for about a year and a half there was a disparity. People just don't shop that way. People are going to shop where they shop. I'll use my own anecdotal shopping. I shop both in Normal and Bloomington. I'm shopping for products and selection and sometimes price. So, no, that's not going to happen.
Are you sure, though? Because you have income that is fairly robust compared to a lot of people. A lot of people coupon and watch app-based deals like Hawks to save money. And many people are pretty price conscious. And why wouldn't that produce a measurable shift in consumer behavior among the people who would be most affected by this?
Well, you're asking me to be a market analyst here, and that's a little more difficult than I can do. It's just been my experience that when there's a disparity of taxes, I mean, the same happened with the gas tax. And Bloomington initiated a gas tax before we did, and there was no difference. People will shop on price, but the prices that they're looking at are not what the local tax is, the 1% tax. They're looking at the cost of the product and what they spent for that product 6 months, a year ago.
From a philosophical and policy standpoint, the town has expended a great deal of effort to minimize or eliminate increases to property taxes, which benefits homeowners. Is there a disconnect between that philosophy? So, you spend all this effort trying to contain property tax increases, but you're not making an effort to contain this one, which arguably affects...
Well, I'm going to push back and say that we're not containing something. I mean, this is a status quo tax. This tax has been in place. The governor said, we're not going to do it at the state level. If you want to do it at the local level, do it at the local level. Some communities are, some communities aren't. What we're looking at is what services we're delivering to people and what the cost of those services are, and the elimination of $2.3 million out of our budget. We have to look at what we're going to cut. And those are significant cuts.
Well, let's question the premise that not doing the local grocery tax would result in the need for budget cuts. $2.3 million is not chump change. That is true. But one of the reasons Bloomington isn't moving ahead with this idea is their working belief that natural revenue growth will make up for much of the stagger, so to speak. It's 1% of the town budget. Isn't that absorbable over natural revenue growth over time?
It's not fair to say it's 1% of the town budget. That's not accurate. Well, it depends on what you're looking at. I mean, you've got to break that down. What are those dollars spent for? So let's say capital projects and that, because you can't put water in that, you can't put sewer in that, because those are enterprise funds and taxed at a different rate.
So $2.3 million out of $60 million is more like 3.8%. That's still not 10%. That's still not 20%.
And your point's taken. Can we make that cut? Sure, we could make that cut. Then it's a matter of what services do we cut. Do we cut our road resurfacing budget? Do we cut our parks investment? Do we cut personnel? The entire budget for Children's Discovery Museum, 22 full-time equivalent employees, is $2 million. So that's the kind of cuts we have to make. And this is in the face of coming off of almost 12 years of recession and COVID, where we fell behind on our capital projects, our road investments, things like that.
That's Mayor Chris Koos of the town of Normal. He spoke with Charlie Schlenker. You can hear the rest of their conversation at WGLT.org. And before we let you go, a shout out to Normal native and American Idol finalist Leah Marlene, who headlines her first show at the Castle Theater tomorrow night, alongside Idol pal Fritz Hager. Showtime is 8 o'clock. And that's it for today. I'm Ryan Denham. The show is produced by Rosalie Truback. You can subscribe to the Leadoff on the NPR app or wherever you get your podcasts.